Good evening to you all. Thank you very much for those who are there. I also would like to thank Nekafla for giving me the opportunity of being here today to talk to you about a very important topic in our doctrine. We are now beginning a new initiative, which is to present these talks in English. But why would we do it? Well, there are 7.5 billion people on Earth, of which 1.5 billion are English speakers, or roughly 20%. Some of them, about 400 million of them, are native speakers, but the rest use English as a tool for communication. So English has become the international language. It has become a universal language. In addition, there are another 7.5 billion spirits in the Earth's sphere. And many disincarnate spirits still think that they speak only the language of their last incarnation. And some of these, obviously, are former English speakers. Therefore, we are also being charitable for these spirits and try to communicate in a language that they understand. Finally, as some of you may know, the original links of Spiritism to English are to the English-speaking world are very strong. As a matter of fact, in the late 19th century, in the middle of the 19th century, about 1848, some mediunic effects happened in the state of New York, near Rochester, at the house in a small village of the Fox. And this is what began the new wave of Spiritist communication. So we are basically using a language that is traditional as well for Spiritism. We are now, after this short introduction, we'll now say a short prayer so that some of you and myself can get into the right attitude. So I ask you to breathe deeply, try to find a comfortable position for your physical body. Try to breathe rhythmically, in and out. And at each inspiration, you can get in touch with your inner self. You feel the energy entering your inner self. And there you will find a place of calm, a place of peace, where you can concentrate and be in touch not only with your spiritual essence, but also with the spiritual world. And it is here, in this place, that we can feel the vibrations coming from the universe. Vibrations that originated with the Creator, with the Almighty. And we can now feel love, hope, compassion. And we can also send some of these vibrations to those spirits that are in need. But first of all, let's thank all of the spirits that are around us. Those that are going to work with us, those that are going to inspire us, those that are going to guide us. Let us also elevate our thoughts to Jesus, to thank Him for the words that he left us in the gospel that serve as a guide, that serve as the light by which we can find the way as we walk, as we move forward towards spiritual elevation, towards the goal of all existence, which is the proximity of God. Let us finally thank the Creator for giving us the opportunity to be here, for giving us also His blessings so that we can start this new initiative, which we hope will help not only incarnate spirits, but also those that have already departed from this world. Amen. Jesus is the most perfect being, and today we're going to talk about perfection. We're going to talk about love. We're going to talk about charity. Jesus is the guide. He's the model by which we can guide ourselves, by which we can move forward. He motivates us by his words to be perfect. His doctrine is the expression of God's will, and he came to earth to help us in aligning ourselves to God's will. This doctrine is based on love, it's based on charity. But what is charity? What is it? It is benevolence towards everyone. It is indulgence for the defects of others. It is the forgiveness of offenses. It is principally unconditional love. Unconditional love of your neighbor. Unconditional love of those that are sharing this earth with us. Unconditional love of those that have departed. It is also action because it is a way of transforming love into action. What is benevolence towards everyone? Is benevolence towards the other, our neighbor, who is our brother or sister. And we believe then that they are good, that they can be saved. Indulgence for the defects of others is to accept the other as he is, as she is, to accept the imperfection of others, to treat the other as you would like to be treated yourself. And forgiveness of offenses means to liberate yourself from negative sentiments, hate, fear, anger, to pay evil with goodness, to give more space to love in your heart. Because if you don't do that, then there is not going to be enough space for love in your heart. So let's give more space to love in our hearts and to liberate the other from our negative sentiments. Because we will not be sending towards them negative feelings. We will not be sending towards the other our hate, our fears, our anger, our resentment. It is also, as Jesus demonstrated when he helped Mary Magdalene who was being stoned to death at one point, unconditional love for the sinner, while at the same time rejecting the sin or the error. Love is the basis of charity. Love is a need for all individuals, incarnate or not. Love is a need for all living beings, people, animals, plants, everything in creation needs love. Love has different degrees of power, meaning that we can feel these different degrees. We can feel different vibrations. When we love a parent, for example, there is a certain vibration that comes from that love. When we love a child, there is another vibration. Even when we love a pet, there is a different vibration. Jesus was the only one that could feel only one kind of unconditional love. We are not yet that developed. We still have to work on our capabilities. We still have to be able to improve on the way we love. But we have to start. And we have to recognize there are different vibrations. For example, when the gospel says that we have to love our enemies, well, it's not the same vibration that we can feel towards a child. It's a vibration that is closer to compassion. It's paying evil with goodness. It is not wishing bad things for the other person. It is just trying to find a way to move forward, not forgetting what happened, but simply moving forward with love in your heart. Love don't has an unlimited power, and we have to explore that power principally while we are incarnated. Uh, like faith, love can also move mountains. We know of many cases where people that just by the power of love were able to change things, were able to change their societies, were able to change the behavior of governments, were able to change the behavior of the people around them. And we can think, for example, of the love that Jesus gave us. And what he gave us is unlimited. It is only a question of knowing how to use it. And it can also, as I said before, move mountains because it can, as I said, change many societies, change many things. We can think, for example, of Mohandas K. Gandhi, which through the power of nonviolence, through a sort of love, was able to change his society and find freedom from the oppression that he was suffering. The same thing with Martin Luther King, which by applying the principles of nonviolence was able at the same time to express love for those that were persecuting him. And love is also the base of all miracles because miracles are acts of love. When Jesus performed miracles, he was loving those that received those miracles. He helped Mary Magdalene. He helped many others through love, through the power of love. That is why love is the greatest sentiment. Love is the greatest sentiment. It's very important to keep that in mind. And love has to exist in our hearts without restrictions, with sincerity, without threats, without manipulation. Love also can explain why we are here. We are here sometimes to pay back with love a debt that we incurred in past lives. For example, if we had an enemy in a past life, maybe he was born as our child or as our son or our daughter, and we had to learn how to love unconditionally. this former enemy. So it sometimes can explain our past lives. And you should question yourself if you are mistrustful of love. And it's natural sometimes when we have had disappointments in life to be mistrustful. But one thing is important: there is nothing that we can do on this earth without love. Love is unavoidable. So we have to accept it. And sometimes, of course, we have to take risks in order to love, but that's part of life. Life is the key to understanding our present physical development, existence. Why? Because, as I said before, we may be born in a family, for example, where we have to account for past errors. We have to teach, for example, a former enemy to love us. We have to help him in his development. We have to learn how to love him. Love will also determine our future. As we go along, you will see later, we have to develop our capacity to love. And all the choices that we will be making as we walk down this long road towards our spiritual development will be determined most of the time by the amount of love we have in our hearts. And love is also the source of our happiness while we are incarnated. Because when we work to help other people, when we work within the confines of a loving heart, we will be able to feel happiness. In our families, for example, if we use love as the basis for all relationships, we will be happy. We will find happiness in spite of whatever material situation you have. So love is one of the objectives of our existence. And as I mentioned before, we can't live without love. In fact, we are nothing without love. At each incarnation, we must increase our capacity to love. If you have no other understanding of why you came to Earth at the present time, then retain this. You came to increase your capacity to love. And every day, you have a chance to exercise this wonderful, wonderful sentiment. And we only learn to love by loving. And you can love everyone you meet. Not physical love, but love, pure love. We came into this world in order to learn to love more and better. Our voyages through the universe are sustained by love. When we go from incarnation to incarnation, when we go from one world to another, on these voyages, we are helped and sustained by the love we have in our hearts. And our quest, the final objective, is really to feel perfect love. Perfect love which is only attainable by Jesus and by God. But we will get closer and closer and closer as we walk along our track, as we move forward towards development. Then love is a wonderful destiny. But many times we neglect the art of love. We refuse to love because of meanness, because of ignorance, because of pride, because of vanity, because of prejudice, because of fear, and many, many other reasons. However, remember, you will be judged by your capacity to love. Every time you pass from one existence to another, there is a final exam. And in this final exam, you will see and you will feel pain when you review your activities on this earth. That every time you refuse to love somebody, you will feel that pain. You will feel their pain. So love unconditionally. Jesus told us that we must love God above all things. We must also love ourselves, love our neighbor as we would love ourselves, and principally love our neighbor as he is. It is important that you understand, that we understand that we need to love ourselves. We need to be able to live with ourselves as we are, that we have to accept ourselves. By accepting ourselves, we are then able to be at ease with ourselves. And then one day we discover that we really like ourselves and we love ourselves. And we can then begin to love others as we love ourselves. But before we do that, we have to go sometimes on a on an expedition to try to know who we are and what we need to do in order to change. But this is a long track that will take us a lot of time to arrive at success. We need then to respect the differences between us. We need to respect our equality before God. We are different from each other, but equal before God. Why we are different? Because we have different capacities, different sensibilities, different levels of spiritual development, different levels of moral development. But since we are created by God as a sparkle from God, we are equal before Him. We are all His children. You need to be searching for yourself, as I mentioned before, as a precondition for you to be able to love and to be able to love your neighbor. You need to search for your spiritual essence, who you really are behind this covering, this material covering. You need to be in harmony with yourself. And you have to have the courage to change. And you have to accept internal and external changes. Sometimes it's very difficult to change. Sometimes it's frightening to change. Sometimes we get a lot of negative feedback from those around us when we change. But we need to persevere. We need to move forward with these changes. We need to accept the consequences of change. And how do you get from love to charity? Well, love is the motivator of charity. But first, we move from love to its twin, pity. And then we can move from pity to charity. Love is the basis or the source of charity. Pity is then the twin of charity. And charity is the sublime duty, the sublime duty of every Christian. The gospel told us to help our neighbors. Therefore, we must help with love, with devotion, without restrictions, with sincerity, without humiliating the other. It's not a chore, it's a labor of love. I repeat, it's not a chore, it is a labor of love. Helping others is then the sublime duty of all Christians and Spiritists. And charity then becomes a form of love, a type of love. which has material and moral dimensions. Material charity satisfies basic physical needs, food, water, shelter, in others. It is useful, without a doubt, but it demands rewards many times, such as gratitude, recognition, notoriety. It can also sometimes trick us into hoping for false immortality. What does that mean exactly? It means, for example, that I would give money to construct a building in my honor. It will help people. Of course, this building will help. Maybe students, maybe it will help people without a home. But if my name is on the door, it is really material charity. Material charity is then an imperfect form of love. The best charity is moral charity. Moral charity satisfies the need of the body, but also satisfies the needs of the soul. It does not demand rewards, material rewards, financial rewards, emotional rewards. It cannot be practiced without unconditional love of others. So in order to really practice moral charity, you have to struggle to achieve unconditional love of others. And it's very difficult, I can assure you. Therefore, moral charity is one of the noblest examples of love. To achieve this moral charity, we must reject principally ostentation. Ostentation is an expression of pride, is an expression of fear or mortality, like I mentioned before, of ignorance, of vanity, of, of contempt for others as well, because you think of yourself as being better than others. Ostentation then is incompatible with moral charity. In the Gospel by Matthew 6:3, Jesus said, "Do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing." Therefore, you have to give and help anonymously, sincerely, expecting no rewards, neither here on earth nor in heaven, because you have to give love for love. You have to live in love and work with love for love. You have to give a bit of yourself, of your spiritual essence, and of your good sentiments. Very important to do that. You have to give not only what is superfluous, but also what you think is essential. And you will find out sometimes that what you thought to be essential is really not essential at all, that you can probably live without it. In this way, we will practice the true charity, moral charity, the true form of love. In closing, I like to call your attention to the idea that nobody can command you to love your neighbor. You can read it in the gospel. You can even intellectually accept the words that are there. Love thy neighbor. But the change has to come from the inside. You have to really feel it. You can cheat other people by lying or pretending, but you cannot cheat yourself, and you cannot hide the truth from God. So if you really want to be charitable, you have first to try and change yourself. Begin small by helping people. Take small steps, making small gestures of love to your neighbor, to your friends, to your enemies. Try and be someone that is always looking at the bright side of life, at what works for people, at what's good in their nature. And little by little, you will see that by looking also within yourself, being generous to yourself, being forgiving side. Times things much so start so that you can love your brother, love your sister, love everyone around you. And then you will be able to really practice true charity. Thank you very much. I now would like to close this presentation by a short prayer. So once again, I ask you to close your eyes and try to breathe in and out normally, rhythmically, feeling the good sensations, the good sentiments that are all around us. Elevate your thoughts towards the heavens and feel the goodness that comes from the heavens. Elevate your thoughts towards those good spirits that are here to help us. Try to feel in your heart love. Try to feel in your heart compassion. Try to feel in your heart hope. Try to sense the vibration of these feelings. And then let's send a little bit of ourselves to those of our brothers and sisters which are still incarnate but which are suffering today, now, in near and far lands, those who are in hospital, those who are at home, those who are in doubt, those who are fearful. Let's send these brothers and sisters the best that we have in ourselves. Let's also send vibrations of hope and love for those spirits that have recently departed from this earth, that they can find solace and comfort on the other side of the mirror. Let us thank all the spirits that have helped us today with this presentation. Let us thank also Jesus for the love that he gives us every day, for the words that he has left us that guide us in our voyage towards the mountaintop, towards the place where we could see the beauty of a pure world, where we could see the beauty of God's creation in all of its magnificence. And finally, Let's elevate our thoughts to the Almighty, to our Creator, to thank Him for the opportunity that He gave us today of being here together, thinking about how to improve the universe, how to improve our lives and the lives of our fellow men and women. And in closing, let's ask our Creator to bless us and give us His permission to end this task today. Amen.